Hello, it's 9 p.m. in RTD. It's time to English New Edition for tonight's headlines. We have the head of state presides over the 21 sessions of the Council of Ministers. For the international scene, Cow in the Sky flight continues to be consumed by the thousands. Welcome to our newsroom. Under the chairmanship of His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, President of the Republic, Head of Government, took place this Tuesday, December 28, 2021, the 21 sessions of the Council of Ministers. The following texts were examined and approved with Presidency of the Republic. First issue, draft order approving the budget estimate 2022 of the Djibouti Office for the Development of Geothermal Energy. The provisional budget of the Djibouti Office for the Development of Geothermal Energy for the fiscal year 2022 is in expense and income to 886 million. The ODEG has put in place a 10-year strategy 2020-2030 and a 4-year action plan in order to put in place in the national grid the electricity produced by this renewable energy. This provisional budget of the office for the year 2022 will be directed mainly in the confirmations of the resources in two flagship projects, that of Kalalakoma and Hanle Garabais. This budget is elaborated in a context of accelerations of the program of large-scale development of geothermal resources that abound in our country and distributed through the national territory. Minister of Economy and Finance in charge of industry, second issue, draft order approving making enforceable the provisional budget of the year 2022 of the Djibouti Economic Development Fund. The provisional budget of the Djibouti Economic Development Fund for the year 2022 is set at more than 426 million Djibouti francs. The FDED is a project financing institutions that plays a role in the economic and social development of the country, particularly in supporting structuring projects. During the year 2022, a profound reforms will be undertaken on the basis of the Code of Good Governance. The third question is draft order adopting the provisional budget for the year 2022 of the Djibouti Partial Credit Guarantee Fund. The provisional budget 2022 of the Djibouti Partial Credit Guarantee Fund is set in revenue of expenses at 81 million Djibouti francs. To date, the funds has been able to carry out about 15 for a total amount of credit granted of 209 million. These exceptional figures, despite the crisis of the COVID-19 pandemic, is mainly due to the file of work of this team and the relationship of trust established and confirmed with the financial institutions. During the course of 2022, this institution is expected to launch two more products. These are Islamic finance and affordable housing. Minister of Health first issue draft order approving making executory the 2022 provisional budget of the General Peltier Hospital. The fifth question is draft order approving and rendering enforceable the 2022 provisional budget of the Balbala Hospital. Sixth question is draft orders approving and making executory the provisional budget of the Dr. Shakib Saad Hospital. The seventh question is draft order approving and making executory the 2022 provisional budget of the Dar al Hannan Hospital. The eighth question is draft order approving and making executory the provisional budget of 2022 of the National Center of Reference in Reproductive Health, Husseina. The Minister of Health presented several texts. The first draft of the decree is related of the budget of the General Hospital Peltier for the year 2022, presented a product at 2.8 billion. The provisional budget 2022 is set in line with the continuity of the hospital's objectives, the reinforcement of the technical platforms and the consolidation of the mission of offering quality care. The orientations of the 2022 budget are to ensure the availability of essential drug and impact the improvement of the quality and the technical platform in order to redress the performance indicators, the rehabilitation of certain services such as resuscitations, dialysis, marshals, the constructions of the stock for the dialysis services, the acquisitions of the new oxygen unit and the establishment of the VDG network in the hospital. The purpose of the second draft is approving the provisional budget, the budget estimate for the Balbala Hospital with the revenue of 882 million. This budget will focus on improving the diagnosis, treatment, monitoring, and accommodations of patients. It is planned to provide integrated patient care and to contribute to preventive medicines and health education activity. The third draft orders aims at approving the 2022 provisional budget of the Dr. Shakib Saad Hospital with the balance put in revenue and expenses at 290 million. In 2022, the institution plans to continue its mission to improve the quality of care provided by and the management of various types of technology and to enhance the comfort of the stay of its users. In 2022, the hospital intends to strengthen the technical platform to take care of respiratory disease by acquiring a cabin of pulmonary, and it is planned to create an allergical unit to take care of patients suffering from asthma and to strengthen the intense care unit by setting up a wall oxygen system. The fourth draft decree aims at approving the 2022 provisional budget of the Dar al-Hanan Hospital, presented in balance in revenue and expenditure at more than 1.2 billion. The Dar al-Hanan Hospital plans to improve the quality of care in 2022 by focusing on all the necessary inputs in order to meet the needs in drugs, consumable and reagents. This budget includes capital expenditure for medical equipment and installations of wall oxygen circuit for neonatologists and expansions of the emergency room. In 2021, the hospital realized a gyneco-obstetrical consultation of 2021. The total numbers of admissions is 8,614. The number of cesarean sections are 1,544, and the numbers of the normal deliveries are 3,695. Finally, the fifth draft decree related to the provisional budget for the 2021-2022 fiscal years of Husseina National Reference Centers for Reproductive Health, which is presented in balance with the revenue and expenditure of 94 million. It provided for the renewable of the medical equipment of the consultations unit and the laboratory, the training of community actors on the promotions of maternal and newborn health issue, and the setting up of a day hospital for the care of patients with the gynecological cancers. The adoption of the draft budget will allow the referral hospitals to pursue their missions, in particular the improvement of the quality of care provided and the management of the different types of pathology. For the second part, the ninth question is draft decree approving and making enforceable the 2022 provisional budget of the National Institute of the Public Health of Djibouti, ENSPD. In the draft budget of the National Institute of Public Health of Djibouti for the fiscal year 2022 is setting income and expenses at 186 million. The objective is to be achieved for the year 2022 are to maintain sanitary control at the borders, to support and create a mechanism enabling the Institute to prepare and respond to the emerging disease, to revitalize hospital hygiene control activity, and to strengthen the institutional framework and technical capacity of the institution so that it can carry out the missions entrusted to it, and to strengthen the capacity of the ENSPD laboratory in terms of detections and confirmation. This provisional budget target priority objective is particularly in the area of vector control and health monitoring, the pillar of which will be operational research. The mission of the National Institute of Public Health are to contribute to the monitoring of the state of health and well-being of the population, to ensure health security and the training of health professionals. The 10th issue draft decree approving and making enforceable the 2022 provisional budget of the Central Purchasing Office for Essential Drug and Materials, CAM. The estimated budget for the 2022 fiscal years of CAM is set at 1.9 billion in revenue. This 2022 budget of CAM and institutions in charge of providing the public, para-public, and private sectors with medicines and materials shows an increase, which is essentially reflected in an increase in direct sales of medicines compared to the previous year. Campaigns to pursue the objectives of ensuring the availability and quality of essential medicines and materials for our citizens, improving administrative procedure for the distributions of essential medicines and materials to the various health facilities, and rationalizing expense and reducing price. The Ministry of Energy in charge of natural resources, the 11th issue draft orders approving the estimated budget of the Djibouti Agency for Energy Management, ADME, for the year 2022. The purpose of the project is the approval of the provisional budget for the year 2022 of the Djibouti Agency of Energy Management, which is stopped in product to 43 million in 2022. The agency intends to achieve the objective is to implement the energy efficiency project in public building, the energy audit, and the popularization of energy efficient equipment. This 2022 budget includes an investment budget to carry out the major project that the agency must undertake. Ministry of City, Urban Planning and Housing, the 12th issue draft order approving the 2022 budget estimate of the Société Immobilière d'Aménagement Foncier, SIAF. The estimated budget for the 2022 fiscal year of the society is set at 1.7 billion. The SIAF 2022 budget is a response to a desire to improve finances and quality productivity of the services. The priority objectives of this provisional budget are to control expenditure, ensure sound management of resources, implement an investment policy that is essential to the smooth operations of the services, and to give a dynamic boost to land development and the restructuring of the cost of financing loans contracted by the corporations with regard to financial backers and local banking institutions. Ministry of Youth and Culture, the 40th issue draft order approving the 2022 provisional budget of the Palais du Peuple, People's Palace. The provisional budget of functioning of the People's Palace for the fiscal year 2022 is stopped in income and expenses to 401 million. The increase of the own product coming from the offered services, rent of rooms, equipment, and spaces is justified by the encouragement following the results of the statistics 2021, where the demand of the customers is ascending. Provisions of the requirement required by the customers and improvement of the conditions of exploitation on all the planes, the applications of the circulars of the Prime Minister. This 22 budget is intended to ensure the purpose functioning of the institutions and should cover the basis and promotional expenses. The Ministry of Budget, the 40th issue draft order allocating a plot of land to the Ministry of Health. It is assigned to the Ministry of Health a plot of land with an area of 4,000 meters square located in Balbala South. This plot is intended for the establishment of the Center for the Control of Mosquito Spreading Disease Communication. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, a spokesperson for the government, reported on his participation in the third Turkey-Africa Partnership Summit, which was held from 17 to 19 December 2021 in Istanbul. This forum was a success and at several levels, given the high rate of participation of leaders from several countries, despite several factors that could have compromised the holding of such an event, which testify to the strengthening of the role of the ties that unite the host countries to the African continent. The next summit will be held in Africa in 2026. The Minister of Youth and Culture reported on her participation in the 22nd editions of the Congress of the Arab Ministers of Culture held in Dubai from December 19 to 20. The theme of the Intergovernmental Conference on the Arabic language was a dialogue of society and meeting of the civilizations. She also reported on her participation in video conference to the 16th sessions of the Intergovernmental Committee for the Safeguarding of the Intangible Cultural Heritage of UNESCO, held from December 13 to 18, 2021 in Paris, and the conversation francophone of the organization is on the theme of the Francophonie at the services of cultural and creative industries. The Prime Minister, His Excellency Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, received today at Diplomacy the young prodigy in artificial intelligence, Mr. Abubakar Hussein Aden. The Prime Minister is welcomed the Egyptian scientist, Mr. Abubakar, who was accompanied by the advisors of MENFA, Mohammed Barkat Siraj. The discussion is focused between the Prime Ministers and the young mathematicians, covered a wide range of topics. The scientists exchanged with the Prime Minister on the various conferences he held on the digital file. Mr. Abubakar also stressed the importance of making the public actors and the mass understanding the importance of digitizations in the development of the country. The two personalities also recalled that digital technology are transforming the global economy. However, many developing countries are still missing out on the benefits that digital would bring to them, including inclusive and sustainable economic growth, better governance, and more efficient services delivery, given the significant competitive advantage that these innovations provide. The Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmed Roble Abdille, met the Minister of Interior, Said Nuh Hassan, in the presence of the Director General of the National Police, Colonel Abdullah Abdi Farah, to discuss health control at airport, seaport, and borders due to the threat posed by the emergency of the new Omicron variant. The Minister of Health and his colleagues of the Interior agreed to increase the vigilance of epidemiological surveillance and health control at all points of entry into the country. Subsequently, the Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmed Roble Abdille, convened an emergency meeting on the evaluations of the response mechanisms against the new Omicron variant. This meeting was attended by members of Scientific Committee for the fight against COVID-19 in the presence of various officials from Humbly International Airport, port, and as well as border police. A meeting of the steering committee of the Zero Islam programs was held at the headquarters of the Ministry of City, Urbanism and Housing, organized by the Ministry of City, Urbanism and Housing. This high-level meeting was attended by the Minister of City, Urbanism and Housing, Amin Abdi Aden, the Minister of Economy and Finance, Ilyas Moussa Dawale, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, the Minister of Interior, Said Nuh Hassan, the Minister of Energy, Yunis Ali Gedi, as well as a plethora of senior officials of the sectoral department involved in the implementation of the program. The purpose of the meeting was to review the progress of the activities of the Integrated Islam Upgrading Project, the first pilot phase of the Zero Islam programs financed by the World Bank, and the presentations of the work plan and investment for the year 2021-2022. In an interview on the national television, the Minister of Finance, Ilyas Moussa Dawale, indicated that the correlate of the Zero Islam's project in order war the causality of is the influence by which the Zero Islam project will contribute to undergoing to the alleys of our enclaves neighborhoods and prepare land for decent housings. As you know, our capital has in the past known errors of disorders concerning the development of plot of land, the city plans and urbanization. So it is a matter of correcting the errors of the past. It is a mobile initiative of the PDT, of the President of the Republic, and what will we all and work on it, because it will contribute to the modernization and beautification of our capital. Thus, the said project also has its hazards, because to contain the situation, it will be necessary to dislodge houses and destroy part of the house that block the streets of our neighborhoods. It is a very difficult decision, but be assured that the government does not intend to ignore the concerned citizens. For her part, the annual meeting of the steering committee ended with a word from the Minister of Urbanism, Planning and Housing, who welcomed the massive participation of the members of the steering committee and the presence of the representatives of the various institutions and technical partners who showed their interest in this important meeting. She also thanked them for their constant commitment alongside the agency and the ministry for the follow-up of the project financed by the World Bank, as well as the implementation of the Zero Slum programs. The Secretary of State in charge of Sports, Hassan Mohamed Kamil, and the Minister of Trade and Tourism, Hamad Warsama Diriye, moved to Ali Sabir to visit the national cadet and junior handball selections, which are in block training courses in order to prepare the regional tournament of the handball trophy, which will be held in Addis Ababa in mid-February 2024. The two ministers were accompanied by the Director of Sports, the Director of the National Institute of Sports Training, and the President of the Djibouti Handball Federation, the local authorities of the region, and particularly the acting prefect, Mr. Mohammed Ahmed Abbas, and the Deputy Directors of the State Secretariat for Sports in Ali Sabir, Mr. Ahmed Musa, welcomed the delegations upon their arrival in Ali Sabir. This mission is in line with the policy of the Department of Sports in terms of monitoring, evaluations, and support, and of the preparation and technical coaching offered to pre-selected young athletes. First of all, the officials visited the young handball players in field training sessions at the sports complex of Ali Sabir. They exchanged with the technical staffs and the young people to encourage them to take advantage actively of this week of preparations in order to optimize the technical, tactical, and physical benefit of the trainings. The director of the Djibouti Radio Television, Mr. Aden Abdi Jama, participated this morning in the second meeting via video conference of the Development Committee of the Islamic Country Broadcasting Union at the level of officials of the initiative Tarsh Bureaus to discuss the latest development of this initiative in the presence of the official in charge of relations with the Arab country, Mr. Muhammad Abdi Roble. This meeting follows the recommendations of the first meeting via video conferences of the committee 28 last December. The second meeting of the Union Development Committee focused on the four main points, including the Union's development plan in the next steps. The Union Development Committee is composed of countries such as Saudi Arabia, Palestine, Egypt, Tunisia, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Jordan, and Kuwait. And for his part, the General Directors of RTD, Mr. Aden Abdi Jama, who spoke at the video conference, made proposals to his peers. The Director General of RTD, who first welcomed his peers, made interesting proposals such as the creation of the website that brings together the positions of each of the Islamic countries in order to show the world at the common visions on the maintenance of peace and to counter all the amalgams and that can mislead the world's population, especially the youth Islam's. He proposed in particular the creation of programs on this subject and adapted to all age groups. The High School of Balbala welcomed today the professionals of the press animating this week, initiated by the Union of the Press Francophone of Djibouti in collaboration with the Ministry of National Education and Vocational Training, with the support of UNICEF Djibouti. Thus, the students were able to benefit from presentations on the history of the different media existing in Djibouti, but also from initiation session on how to write a press article and the different journalistic genres. These very enriched sessions were very well followed by the students who asked very pertinent questions about the media in Djibouti. This week's aim to serve as a bridge between the world of education and the national media in order to create vocations among students who could embark on studies of journalism at the end of the school year careers and embrace this noble profession. In addition to the High School of Balbala, the High School of Gabod and Hoda will host in the coming days the Week of the Press in high schools. In a statement made on the spot, the president of the UPF Djibouti, Mr. Kennedy Ibrahim Hussein, was pleased with the smooth running of this week of the press in high school, while expressing his hope that this event will continue in the future. So we were also able to collect the reactions of students participating in this week of the press and their teacher supervisors who showed their enthusiasm for this event. Every year, the World Arabic Language Day is almost celebrated in all Arab-speaking countries, and especially in Djibouti. The highly organized event took place at the private schools Irshad. It was attended by the directors of the Arab private schools and the president of the General Associations of Arab Schools, technical advisor of the Minister of Education, took part in this ceremony. Djiboutian poet participated in this ceremony and performed a poem about the value and the importance of the Arabic language. The students of this school presented songs and poems on this theme. The personalities who spoke during this event praised the Arabic language and recalled that this language is the language of the Holy Quran. Let us emphasize that since in 1999, the Arabic language has flourished in Djibouti. The ceremony ended with a family photo. The opening this morning of the regional workshop dedicated to tuberculosis in Damerjog under the auspices of the IGAD. The workshop in question is the third of its kind held in the Republic of Djibouti, brings together Health Authority of Djibouti and Somaliland. The workshop, which saw the participation of about 20 people, was opened by Mr. Abdul Shahid Noor, sub-prefect of Damerjog, and the director of the health regions of Djibouti, Idris Farah Migil. The director of the health regions of Djibouti, Idris Farah Migil, welcomed the Somaliland delegations. He indicated that his department support and accompanies all the health structures of the Republic of Djibouti so that the treatment of tuberculosis is available. The director of the health regions of Djibouti indicated that the Ministry of Health supports the national program of tuberculosis and that any persons who suffer must absolutely go to the nearest health structure. For his part, on his side, Mr. Abdul Shahid Noor, the sub-prefect of Damerjog, welcomed the delegation of Somaliland. He pointed out that this workshop started in the regions of Ali Sabih and is now being held in Damerjog. This workshop aims at facilitating people suffering from tuberculosis who cross the borders. The director of surveillance control, Mr. Abubakar Burhan, went to Balho locality located at 110 kilometers from Tajura region in Dora and prefectures to make a visit on the ground. The mobilized team of the Customs Brigade installed in Balho was welcomed by the police and the army official. Thereafter, the director met with the Customs Brigade. Director of Surveillance Control, Mr. Abubakar Burhan, congratulated all the employees of the national forces of the region of Tajura and the customs agents of Tajura. For the international scene, Omicron cloud in the sky flight continues to be concealed by the thousands. The meteoric spread of the Omicron variant is causing serious disruptions to air travelers. 8,300 flight connections were canceled over the Christmas weekend, and this Monday in the U.S. Along 700 flights were canceled. Airlines are worried that the sectors could come to a standstill. Simon Calder's transportation analyst, the CEO of Delta Airlines, one of the major carriers, Ed Bastion, has asked the Centers for Disease Control to reduce isolation time after a case of COVID-19. He believed it's impossible to run an airline if people stay isolated for that long. This is it for the news. Thanks for watching us. Have a good evening.